The way the official narrative has been force-fed while you publicly ridicule people that are asking pretty legitimate questions, that just screams to me this is an act of deception, orchestrated at a high level.
Like she takes 2 steps forward and 3 steps back with me.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird how she's been covering this now. I don't know, like, but she's like actually friends with the TPUSA people, and like that's the one thing that I will give people passes on, because I know I would be extremely conflicted on this too. Is like, if you're friends with them and you know that you have the ability to either back them or not, and especially if in that situation where you're like, Charlie, I'm sure she's 100% on it, like, Charlie got killed, how can I help them? And I think she'd be very resistant to throwing any complexity into that for them if she has the ability.
I would be, if I was close friends with someone, I wouldn't trust myself. I think it would be like, I'm so biased out of my friendship that controversy surrounding them, it's out of friendship loyalty. I
mean, just having him on her show right now, like, it's like she is aiding him and spreading propaganda. You know what I mean?
But she also directly said, like, after a couple of days of this, she said, I think it's time now that, like, look, I just saw the video. Like, I remember after day 1 or day 2, and she's like, now that I've seen the video, like, everybody needs to relax. Like, this guy did it, and I was like, what? It was just very confusing to me.
And then what bothered me is she said, I want to be there when they flip the switch and I want them to kill him, and all this brutal stuff.
She said that about Tyler Robinson?
Yes, bro. Absolutely.
I mean, I would say that if it turns out he did shoot Charlie Kirk, I'll flip that switch on him in 2 seconds. I'd bury him under the prison alive. But you don't know he did it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that clip. It's I'll play this one in the meantime.
Well, yeah, I can find where he
I did, as a matter of fact.
You want to see maybe around here. Let me see.
Children, he knows he has a wife who loves him, and then when confronted with the family members whom he's devastated, he has the gall to yuck it up in front of them with his lawyers. There's something completely inhuman about this behavior.
I couldn't agree more. It's inhuman behavior. It's unhuman behavior. And, I was surprised too that no, recognition of his own family that's been there in the room, his mother and father. And, what we know that's come out is that it seemed like they did not have a particularly close relationship. I think he'd essentially been kind of thrown out of the house because of the lifestyle, and that's been in some of the reporting. And I'm sure we'll get more of that when Twiggs' testimony comes up, which we expect to come up either today or tomorrow. And but that being said, they are there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore people to that. I was trying to find the Megyn Kelly clip that I was talking about.
I want him dead. I want the death penalty handed down against him and anyone who helped him. And I will be gleeful on the day it is carried out.
Oh, I you know what? So you're saying that happened in December?
Something like that, yeah.
So she probably
I don't know.
She probably had a conversation with TPUSA people who she's friends with, and they shared with her what they've been told. And that I can understand why she would have been that confident that he actually did do it. Because if he did do it, I don't feel any different than that. Like, it's not like, I thought that she said that like this week. And I'm like, what trial was she watching?
The way that she's acting now on this same interview I was just showing with Jack Posobiec, she's pulling the same strings of he's a sick animal. Tyler Robinson is not human. He's laughing and can't face his whatever, all of this stuff. And it just seems like she's painting a narrative. It feels
everything she's saying is true if Tyler really did do it. But at the same time, she's an attorney and she's super smart. So like the second that you hear that the star witness has his DNA on every single piece of evidence. He also has no alibi aside from I slept in till 1 p.m. He has access to every single one of the devices that the confessions happened on. You find out during the trial that that text conversation that's like, oh my goodness, love of my life, Mary golly gee, when am I going to see you again? He's like, oh, well, after I get done picking up the rifle, which I used to kill Charlie Kirk because I could not negotiate with his help, with his hatred. And asked, do you remember when I was engraving the bullets I used to kill Charlie? It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. But like that conversation happened at midnight. You're like, midnight? It came out those. So like, which is more likely that Tyler Robinson was still outside that park waiting to pick up his rifle hours after the feds got it, or that Lance Twiggs stole his phone and then cooked the text, and that's, again, not even including what I actually think happened. This is just like in this timeline, like it's way more likely that Lance Twiggs stole his phone and did it, or Lance Twiggs went on the Discord and was like, because Barron, I'm pretty sure Barron has proved that the Discord confession came after he was in custody.
Yeah, it was at least an hour and a half after Robinson was in custody that the Discord message came out, according to what Barron has uncovered. Yep. I'm curious, quick thought from you guys. Last week, Andrew Kolvet, when the trial starts, Andrew Kolvet came out and said, I've got some questions. Did y'all see that video, which it's not worth watching here? You just want to gouge your eyes out seeing Andrew Kolvet.
What did he say? No, I didn't.
He wants to know if Twiggs was involved finally.
Yeah, he does?
It's the first time Andrew Kolvet, prime narrative protector of the official narrative of Charlie Kirk stuff. Once the trial starts, for the first time in 9-10 months, Andrew Kolvet all of a sudden has questions about what happened to Charlie that aren't covered by the really thorough official narrative. So, I mean, just Jesse, you saw it, hot take. Where do you think Andrew was coming from? Was that authentic or just full of crap?
I think it's well, I think at this point scripted, although I don't know how long ago it was scripted. Honestly, like my gut, because I think it's so obvious where the story is going and that this is going to ultimately get put on Lance Twiggs and then it's going to be like, there's going to be a oh my gosh, he really did frame him. Yeah. Because it's so on the nose and it's so obvious. And the fact that all of them are like acting like they can't see it. And this is like I have to come up with this, like I'm some seasoned murder investigator or something. It's like no alibi, history of violence, supposedly stabbed his grandparents or whatever. Like his word is literally the only thing you're going on aside from these digital things that he had access to. And on the Dremel, which is the tool that they use to engrave the bullets, only his DNA is on it. And so it's like, guys, they're going to put this on Lance. And so I think that I just think the whole thing is not real. And I think that Andrew's like, they're like playing their parts because now they're laying the seeds. And it makes me think, honestly, that like that whole I'm skeptical now, even to where when the reason I know about the notepads and I know about all the drawings that he made of like he's schizophrenic and he's, connecting all these wires and all that stuff is from this one article where one of the guys supposedly leaked this stuff to Turkey Tom. And it's such a thorough amount of, I couldn't even believe it. I remember at the time I was like, man, I've never had such a fascinating an incredible amount of information behind us, a crime like this. I remember being glued to the first video that came out about it and then reading the accompanying stuff. And I'm like, this is unbelievable, man. And then now I'm like, was this thing like planned from the beginning that they were going to pin this on Lance? Cause like, all I'm saying is, I mean, there's no way for me to know for sure if I'm right, but if what ends up happening is Lance is found dead, and in the note, it's like, I have to say, I did it. And I framed Tyler, and here's how I can prove it. And they're like, Tyler is exonerated. It was Lance. If that ends up happening, then I'm the king of the internet because that means I'm right for sure.
Yeah. I love that.
Time has gone by. JP, where do you sit with all of this? What do you think is going on in the case? Do you think it's a show trial? Do you think it's all a setup and a psyop? I mean, where do you sit with all this? The
Man.
Tyler Robinson case, the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just lay it on us.
Big picture, the thing I'm most certain of is there's deception going on. The way the official narrative has been force-fed while you publicly ridicule people that are asking pretty legitimate questions, that just screams to me this is an act of deception, orchestrated at a high level. So that's all I have certainty about. Like, there's obviously deception. Then as far as like, what are the micro details that matter? Like, how did he die? Was it the exploding mic? Or is that in the factory burning down? Was that just a really big, weird coincidence? Let's tie in Israel connections as well. And could those just be hugely coincidental? Why did Kash Patel shut down the National Center for Counterterrorism's investigations into foreign involvement when they said there's reason for us to investigate foreign involvement? The FBI said, you're not investigating foreign involvement. Iran war, Charlie was a huge opposition to that. He had President Trump's ear. Israel obviously wants it. So maybe just a big coincidence and there's no Israeli involvement. But I know there's deception because I trust my senses, and I am very suspicious of Israeli involvement. That's where I'm at.
You know, the one thing that I like, so I was like Nate and I talk about this, because obviously me and Nate don't agree on this at all, but we talk about it all the time. And I was laughing with him the other day because I'm like, what's hilarious about my coverage of this case, which was investigate the leftists first and then move to like current, and like maybe both are wrong. I don't know. But the reason that I ended up on the path I did is because I was so naive and underinformed about Israel at the time that it happened that it just wasn't on my radar at all. So like, it was like, everyone's all, if that happened.
I remember
today,
when you and I kept mentioning things to you and you were like, I'm not even
like,
there.
come on, dude. No,
you
way.
weren't even.
You're just like, Danks is an anti-Semite. What the hell is wrong?
Yeah,
for real. He was like, I can't even say
like
your
a
name
blue
on
square,
stream.
like a blue square.
He was scared to say my name on stream.
Yeah. No, but like, because I just was, if that happened tomorrow for real, like I would instantly be like, they got him, dude. Like they got, for sure I would. Like, I know that for sure. And I just, the only kind of like conspiracy side of this that I am very resistant to, because, and again, like I'm open to anything. The one thing that I'm like, nope, is if TPUSA whacked out Charlie, I don't believe for it. There's just no way, because if it was all of these people who are that close to him, they could literally just drop cyanide in his sandwich. Like they could do, like, it's so easy. It would be so easy for them to kill him with absolutely no fanfare, not make anything about it. If they were involved, there's a 0% chance that this is how they would do it. So I just like, in addition to the fact that I'm not going to pretend like I don't see that, like, these are not bad people. And so like, they're not going to conspire and murder their best friend. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, where I can't live in a world where that is something that happens,
I mean, the only way I can get there, I said this on stream yesterday, I think I said, the only way I can get there is if truly indeed at least 50% of Charlie Kirk's life, especially his wife and his inner workings, were planted there. Like if his life was truly a Truman Show, injected people into his life where majority of the people were guiding and whatever, then maybe I could see it. But it's really hard for me to get there that all of these people are in on a murder,
Yeah.
That's the problem for me.
I think a lot of like music stars, that really is their life for real. And so it's not impossible at all that political people like are that way as well. Do you know what I mean? Well, what we're seeing now too, especially with this 223 bullet that was on the other roof. And then Candace today, she covered the person that saw allegedly somebody on the roof in tactical gear with what looked like an AR, which would shoot a 223 ammo round.
And so, this could have been somebody just that was tasked to do so, like an actual hit, and it looks more like an actual hit from a smaller caliber AR rifle than 30-06 from some furry tranny dude. You know what I mean? Especially the round that they're I don't know why they went with that round. It's so wild.